Hi guys, so in this video we're going to look at two types of bacteria, two categories, where we're going to define bacteria as either helpful or harmful. Alright, so let's take a look at some of these helpful bacteria. And before we do so, can you think of any bacteria which are used today, which are of any use in the industry to persons? Right, so let's start off with the first use of bacteria, where bacteria which are decomposers, are helpful. And how they are helpful is that when these bacteria secrete their enzymes onto dead organic matter, which is inclusive of the remains of dead plants and animals, as well as their excretory material, when bacteria secrete their enzymes onto this dead organic matter, we say that the dead organic matter breaks down and the bacteria then absorb this broken down matter. How does this make bacteria that are decomposers helpful? They are helpful because they help to reduce the amount of excretory material and dead remains of plants and animals which can be found in the environment. Next up, we have bacteria that produce antibiotics. So if a disease which is caused by a bacteria can be treated with antibiotics, that is why we say these bacteria are very helpful, because they can be used to form antibiotics. Note, antibiotics cannot be used to treat a cold and flu or colds and flus, because they are not caused by bacteria, they are actually caused by viruses. So that's bacteria that produce antibiotics. Let's look at another helpful bacteria. And you're going to find this helpful bacteria right in your body, in your gut or your small intestine. And this helpful bacteria has a long name, but we're going to stick to its simple name, which is called E. coli. So what does this E. coli bacteria do in your gut? If you didn't guess it by now, it helps to break down food in your body. Right, so are there any more helpful bacteria? Yes. There are bacteria which can be used to make certain foods. So some of these foods you might know. So for example, we have yogurt, you're going to see sour cream, and some bacteria can be even used to make buttermilk and all these different types of cheeses that we see here. Right, so that's bacteria which is used in foods. And last but not least, you know this one, there are bacteria which can be used to treat sewage. So sewage would be any sort of organic waste. By adding in bacteria into the organic waste, these aerobic and anaerobic bacteria, they're going to break down the organic waste. And in doing so, it makes the organic waste suitable to be reintroduced into the environment. Right, so when it's broken down, there are no more bad odors, right? It's non-pollutive and it's not as a sightly mess as it presents in the form of organic waste. So that's our helpful bacteria. So if you haven't done so by now, you should have been taking down a list of those helpful bacteria. Next up, let's look at some of these harmful bacteria. And what we are going to do is, before we look at how these bacteria are harmful, we have to take down some definitions from our slide. So you can pause and take it down. So we say that a parasite is an organism that feeds on another organism and lives in or on that organism, which is called the host. There's a definition for something called a pathogen, where we say a pathogen is some sort of harmful microorganism, which is a parasite that causes disease. And last but not least, we have an organism which is referred to as the host, and the host is the organism in which the parasites live and reproduced. Right, so in looking at our definitions, we have a parasite, a pathogen, and a host. So a pathogen can also be a parasite, but a parasite cannot, all parasites are not pathogens. Right, so once again, a pathogen is a type of parasite, but not all parasites are pathogens. So let's continue keeping these definitions in mind, right? And keeping in mind, your pathogen is a lot smaller than your parasite. Right, so what you're going to do for me is, here are some diseases which are caused by harmful bacteria. You're going to take down the list. If there are any others that you know of, you're also going to write it down. So just for your benefit, let's go through the list. There are some diseases caused by harmful bacteria. That's sore throat, anthrax, syphilis, gonorrhea, TB, also called tuberculosis, typhoid fever, cholera, and there's one called leptospirosis. So if you would like, you could do a little internet research, but I just need you to be able to identify diseases caused by harmful bacteria from this list. Okay, everyone, thank you for viewing.